matches in Houston?
Well, we've got an important stretch for us. That we're under no illusions that this is a very important week, and we're looking forward to it. I think the group is in a good mindset. We performed well over the last 3 weeks. Didn't get the result in Salt Lake, but the performance was a good one, and we put ourselves in a position to get something out of that game. No doubt, it just the final play was lacking, and that was not lacking in San Diego, and sometimes that's a difference. But as far as us being starting to narrow in on who we are and finally getting the rhythm and it looking like we want it to look, we're slowly starting to get there. And Vancouver comes in town. I know they're somewhere at the top, if not the top of the West, and Philly, and we got some good teams coming in town, and hopefully I think that excites our group. We understand the threats that Vancouver poses. They've been a fun team to watch over the course of this year, and we'll have our hands full. But we're at home, and we're looking to continue what has been recently a pretty good home form.
Luis.
Coach, good morning.
Hi.
Knowing that the challenge is going to be tough even at home, but how much of this stretch of being the rest of the month here, it's important to boost for the rest of the season?
We've been living, I'm sorry. We've been living in important games for 3 months. We've been behind it for most of this season. And so this isn't like all of a sudden these 3 games are the most important. This is where we've lived. And the important part that we've kind of focused on was just, again, continuing to get better, continuing to find out about this group. I know it's late to be talking like this. I was talking this way in my first year here, before the League's Cup, still trying to tinker and figure out our best group and foster some relationships out there. This is just how the season's gone. And so now we're in a spot where I think we're really close and we're narrowing down, and we got some good depth in our competition. And so that part gives me hope and optimism that this team is on the right track.
Speaking about optimism, like one week you get 4 goals, next week you didn't score, but that doesn't mean you didn't get chances.
That's right.
How optimistic are you that you're finally creating those?
Yeah, you all saw the Salt Lake game. There's no reason we can't score 3 goals in that game. And goals change games. If we get 1 or 2 and they stretch, and then you can get 3. So this is all game state and moments. And sometimes this is soccer, and you make the moments or you don't. And the other team makes a moment or they don't. And, I think sometimes we complicate it all. And, I think it's sometimes good to take the emotion out of it and understand that, again, it was a good performance on the road in altitude. Our guys worked very hard. I thought their focus was high. They were combative. And, we let ourselves down on a set piece. And Bondi, made a couple saves. But we gotta help out our defense with some goals. They know that, but we did that the week before. So hopefully, in Vancouver, we got our goal scoring boots on.
Speaking about competition, defensive side, can you tell us about Andrade getting more minutes?
Well, there's obviously a competition there with him and Griffin, and Griffin offers some things that he doesn't, and he offers some things that Griffin doesn't. So. That's the competition that we're starting to have within the group. Griffin's been great, and I don't doubt that he's going to be back in the lineup shortly. But sometimes that's going to depend on who we're playing and what the matchup is or how we envision the game going. But he's still a huge part of this, both on the field and in the locker room. His positivity, even through this time. Of course, he wants to play, but his positivity and energy for the organization hasn't waned, and he's a joy to be around.
All right, we'll start with Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Hi, Ben. Yeah, we're back to another midweek action. Basketball World Cup is over, so we're back to MLS. I want to ask you this question real quick. You have always emphasized on players' responsibility in your past, press conferences. How have you been able to balance such accountability with keeping the morale high in sport?
In this moment, or is that just a general question?
In general.
It's a good question, Sam. They have to be a part of this. We are, we're pretty collective in. I try to preach, that we are a collective, and everybody has their role in that. And certain guys have more of a role from a culture standpoint and a daily energy and pulse of this team. And I lean on those guys. I try to connect with those guys, and but I don't fully understand your question. I don't know if I have a full answer, but some of this is feel, some of this is experience, taking the temperature every morning and coming in, just like you guys go into your offices. What's the mood? What do we need? Do we need, to tighten it up? Do we need a joke? Do we need some love? I don't have a recipe. I've never had a recipe on leadership and coaching. I don't have that kind of PowerPoint presentation. Some of this is feel and relationships and being honest and holding these players accountable and making sure they understand that they're a part of this just as much as I am and the staff. And again, if you're accountable, if you're honest and you bring some love to that, I don't know. Sometimes it works for me.
I wish I had it back maybe.
Thanks.
Dustin, go ahead.
Hey man, morning.
Morning.
Hey, we've seen a lot more of Ethan lately. Just can you talk a little bit about how he's been progressing and what he gives you, kind of is that similar to what Eric gives you with his ability on the ball to play the pass?
Well, I think he's arguably our best passing center back, and so that he adds that to us when he's on the field. His range of passing is good. He's calm, and so for him now it's just about putting these games back to back and taking this job, and so that part is, I think communicated to him, and I think he's taken it. I think right now he's had 2 good games, and the challenge that is in front of him is sustaining that and being at the level that he can be for us over the course of this season. And so far, so good.
And just Vancouver, like you said, they've been at the top of the West all season. Another physical striker like Brian White. Just what kind of issues do they pose for you guys?
Well, they come on you fast. They come numbers in the box. Brian White, he's just relentless. 1 movement, 2 movements, always in and around goal. And he's physical, and he has a smell for where the ball's going to be. So he's just a typical, high-level striker in this league that, understands where to be. He seems tactically really savvy of where the providers are going to give him service, and he's just clever, and he's physical, and so he's pretty well rounded. He holds the ball up pretty well too. He comes underneath, he doesn't complicate it, he connects, and then he moves again. So he's it doesn't surprise me that he puts up these numbers, and it just when a guy does this year after year, it's not luck. It's not surprise. He understands what he's doing.
Thanks, man.
Victor, go ahead.
Victor Rise of Deportes Nation in Soccer Tejas. Ben, I'm looking at Vancouver's run of form. They've lost 4 of the last 5. Pedro Vite looks like he's not traveling with the team, potentially on his way to Pumas. I know they're higher up in the table, but I imagine you like your chances at this Vancouver side in this run of form.
Yeah, I mean they've lost a few, and but I don't know if that is on the forefront here as far as our preparation. I think we're pretty clear on what they do, and even the games they've lost, you can see the qualities there, and if you don't, if we're not at our best, let's not kid ourselves. We won't we won't be able to win this game. So the focus is showing up and being at our best at home and doing what we do well and understanding their strengths and trying to dampen some of the impact that some of their key players are. As far as Vite, was I upset at that news? No. He's a hell of a player. I think he's a lot of fun to watch, and he does pull the strings. But they're deep and they're physical, and I think the coach has done a really good job. So they'll replace him with somebody. Berhalter's playing dominating in that midfield now. He's playing at a high level. Again, White and good passing center backs. They throw a bunch of different types of builds at you that you have to problem solve. So we'll have our hands full, but we're looking forward to it.
Jack McGlynn recently got a contract extension. Does that come with higher expectations, or is the club pretty set on what they've asked him to do? Has anything changed for Jack?
No. If as far as expectations are, I think the expectations were pretty high from the get-go. He came in here in some ways to replace Hector Herrera, so I think that bar was set really high for him initially. His positional, he's changed positions for us, and now his responsibility is a little higher up the field. But as far as providing for us and scoring and dictating the game and being kind of a 10 now to influence the game, those expectations were there from the beginning. This was a big purchase, even though there was some real money up front to get him out of his contract and a commitment from the club. So I think that came with some expectations. This contract is, a little bit of a reward and also a commitment from Jack to be here for the time being, and we're happy to have him. He needs to get back to it. It's hard to go from the Gold Cup and back into MLS play. I've done it, and you could see him and Andrade's partnership forming as the game went. It's the first time they've really played together over there. You know how I believe in partnerships and relationships, and so as that relationship goes, or Griffin comes in, I expect Jack to get back to his ability, his best over the course of this next week or two.
I'm sure you're glad you're not losing him to the All-Star game, but do you see that as a bit of a snub, the fact that he didn't get picked for next week?
Not really. I think it's a really good league, and there's a lot of players playing at a high level and scoring goals and having assists, and their team's winning. And so I don't. There's been times here I've felt like we could have had more, and we were doing well, and we were underappreciated. I think we are where we are right now, and that's a challenge. I hope it maybe pisses a few players off, but as a collective, we have to make those decisions for people and make it very clear if we want individual honors. It starts with the group, and usually when the group's doing well, the individuals will shine.
Dorsey, where do you see his ceiling? I know he's your assist leader currently, but do you feel, let me put it in this terms too, certainly at the national team level, it doesn't seem like he's got on the looks. I don't know if maybe that's where you see his potential. But where do you see the best of Griffin Dorsey? Because it seems like he can still, he still has another level.
I think all our players have more to give. And I think Griffin this year, some of the things we've pushed on and worked on in the offseason was a final product and putting more assists up and goals. Essentially he's a winger. When we play in our structure, and wingers need to score and provide. And that was the challenge to him, and he stepped up to that challenge. Within that, our right-sided winger, they got to defend, and they got to do some work as well. And that's why he's a unicorn. He's willing to come back and do a lot of work. He's got great lungs. He's up and down, and he's a responsible defender. Again, I've talked already about him and Felipe. They're different. They're different players. playing the same role, and that's going to be kind of a competition and a balance and a coaching decision of who we're playing or who's in form and who's around them, who's playing with them, and all those little tactical decisions that we got to make. But his ceiling, there's more. There's always more to Griffin, but energy's great, lungs, quality in the final thirds really coming around, and as I said, he's a great soldier and a great teammate.